Alright, so today we are going to start session 1 on the 7th theory for guitar. Of course, the very first thing you're going to want to do is tune your guitar. So grab a tuner from a local store, guitar store, Amazon, whatever you want to do. There's foot pedal tuners that'll run you between $50 and $150, and when you push them it kills the signal to the soundboard or to your amp or whatever you're using. And or you could buy one of these handy little snark tuners, which are really awesome. It's a great invention. I mean, they just go by vibration, and they're like 11 bucks. You just clip it onto the guitar, and I'm sure Snark is going to have a huge increase in sales because of that random promotion for them. So, Snark, you owe me. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so what we're going to learn is the string names and how to tune. So when you grab your tuner, you're going to hit the first string. That's an E string. So that Snark tuner works by vibration. I'm just going to hit this E, and you're going to see that it's lined up right there in the green. If you take your tuner and you twist it back to the left, that's called it's flat. Alright, it is out of tune now, so you got to just twist it back up to the right to where it's green. Is it green? I think so. Okay, I can't see it. Let's see. Alright, cool. So that works for all the strings, and you're just going to clip that onto the end of the guitar and then get a read on all your strings and make sure that you are in tune. So every string name is like this: E, A, D, G, B, E. One more time, that's E. Next one's A. Next one's D. Next one's G. Next is B. Then E. Now again, you need to be following along in your workbook that goes along with this video series. That way you don't get lost. You can push pause and go ahead and review those string names and put them to memory. Alright, so now that you've got the string names, let's learn our first chord. So a chord is any set of notes put together. Really, 2 notes or more is a chord. So let's look at a major chord, a D major chord. You're going to put your first finger on the 2nd fret, 3rd string, G string, right there. Alright? So each one of these is a fret. 1st fret, 2nd fret, 3rd fret, 4th fret, 5th, and so forth, all the way up the neck. In fact, when you get up to here, the 2 dots, those are octaves. So if you've ever heard somebody go, those are octaves. You got open E and then E. A, D, D, so forth. So to play a D chord, you're going to put your first finger on the G string, 2nd fret. Alright? Then you're going to put your ring finger on the B string, 3rd fret. Alright? Then you're going to put your middle finger on the E string, 2nd fret. Alright, now this is a very common D chord. It is in thousands, if not millions of songs, right? You've got a D chord, which consists of a D note, an A note, and an F sharp note. And here we can hear all 3 of those notes. So I'm going to get into theory a little bit more in session 3, but let's just learn a couple chords just to get going here and start having some fun. So I want you to try the D chord. See if you can get to sound like that. Now, one thing I always tell my students is imagine that there's a golf ball in your hand here. So if your thumb is like wrapped around it like a baseball bat, that's not a good sign. It's going to probably sound like this and kind of bad. So if you heard that, I like to call that a fret fart, and that stinks, right? So what you're going to do, you're going to, sorry, it's a really cheesy joke, I know, but you're going to pretend there's like a ping pong ball or golf ball in your hand. That way you know there's enough space behind the neck. Alright, so looking at the back of the neck, it should look like this, like a lot of space right there. You see that? If your hand is all the way up to it, you're going to have a hard time gripping the strings. You need to have some space there, and most teachers will even tell you to put your thumb in the back of that neck. So if you see me not do that, sorry, I'll tell you to go ahead and do that, but I've been playing for so long, my thumb's going to wrap around while I'm teaching you. But if you've got small hands, if you're a kid or a student, go ahead and try to put your thumb in the back center of the neck. All right? That way you got a nice grip on the neck and your strings are being pushed down nice and hard. Okay, now this is a guitar pick, as I'm sure you already know. I sound like Vince Lombardi. This is a football. But you're going to want to hold that pick kind of like that, about 2/3 of the way into the pick. You don't want to be back here because then you're going to drop it. And you don't want to be like that because then your fingers are going to touch the strings. So you're going to be about right there, right in the center, kind of holding about 50% to 75% of the pick. And you want to have a nice grip on it. That way when you hit the strings, it sounds nice and good. That's what we want. Alright, so let's learn the second chord. This is a D2 chord. Now what's beautiful about this is you're just going to take this middle finger off. So now you've got 2 notes. That's not why it's called D2, but it's a good little trick for your memory. Just take those two notes right here, A note, open D string, and then this D note. And then go ahead and hit that last string. Now any string that you hit that doesn't have a finger on it is called open. Alright, so the E string is open, the D string is open, and of course this finger's on this string, this finger's on this string. That gives you a D add 9 or a D2. So go ahead and give this a whirl. Go ahead and play it. Push pause if you need to, and try that a bunch of times so you get that nice and clear sounding. Alright, so now what I want you to do is try the 2 chords back and forth. D to D2. D to D2. Okay? Push pause and give that a whirl. Alright, now the third chord you're going to learn is a D sus. Now this is really cool because all you're going to do is add your pinky right there underneath. It's just going to camp out right there underneath your third, your ring finger. And this is on the bottom E string, and it's on the 3rd fret. So if you count your frets, 1, 2, 3, it's on the 3rd fret right there. Okay, give that a whirl. And you'll probably recognize that. These are chords that have been used in hundreds of songs. Good old Tom Petty, I think it was. That's Free Fallin'. I was going to joke about that for a minute. Right, so you've got D, D2, D sus, and those are your first 3 chords I want to teach you. D, D2, and D sus. Alright, so push pause. I want you to try this. D, D2, D sus. Try that a bunch of times so you get real comfortable with it. Alright, hopefully you're comfortable with those 3 chords. Now we're going to move right along to a whole nother world of a chord here. It's not going to be any form of D. We're going to look at the G chord. Probably the second most popular chord for any guitar player is going to be a G chord. So you've got your middle finger on the 3rd fret, E string, and you've got your first finger on the A string, 2nd fret, just like that. And then you have an open D string, an open G string, and then you've got this finger here on the 3rd fret, and then your pinky right below it again on the 3rd fret. So you put it together, sounds like that. Alright, now this is probably the most popular chord for all guitar players as long as the earth has been here. I mean, this is the infamous G chord, okay? So I want you to try to give that a big nice strum. Now if you're hearing things like that, the fret fart, fret buzz, whatever you want to call it, that means you're not pushing down quite hard enough. That means your hand might be like this. And so what you want to do is make sure there's some space in the back, like we talked about before, and your thumb is pushing hard against the back of the neck. And that way, when you play that, you've got a nice, good pressure on the strings here. Another thing that happens to my students all the time is their finger here will touch the other string. So if you're hearing this, okay, it's because this finger and possibly the top of this finger is touching the D and the G string. So you got to make sure your fingers curl around. If they're flat, and see if your joints are like that, it's not going to work. Got to make sure that your fingers are like that and they're curved around to to hit the proper notes. Play that along, alright? See if you can get that to sound like that.